Okay, another very short lesson. In this lesson here, what we're going to do is take a look at blocking volumes. Blocking volumes can be very important when you start dealing with static meshes that have, let's say, what am I looking for?
Say you
crazy type detail.
You haven't imported an optimized collision mesh with your static mesh. All you have is just the high detail one that you modeled for looks.
Right.
But you dropped that into the level and you left the collision on all the high detail geometry. And now all of a sudden you're getting stuck on like the sharp edges or parts that jag out into the level.
Right. And you've added a static mesh here that really does a good job at demonstrating this.
Nice little spike ball.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, we could jump into the game real quick just to show exactly why we'd want to go about redefining its collision. So we've got the spike ball in the level, and if we walk up to it, we can walk in between the spikes, and then it's hard to strafe left and right because we get stuck up against them.
Right.
Or we can jump onto the top one, and same thing, we hit that middle spike. So what would be nice is to go in and take the collision off of it, at least as far as players are concerned, and set up our own collision using a blocking volume.
Well, even if you didn't mind the getting stuck part, I mean, aren't we now dealing with something that's a little bit slower to calculate as well?
Sure, it is. If you had a lot of these, or if you had used a static mesh for a walkway, a very detailed walkway, and all of a sudden you have your entire team trooping over these polygons.
Using every polygon to calculate collision.
Exactly. So what we could do, the first thing we would want to do is make the current mesh not collide with players. So I'll double-click it to open up its properties. Under Collision, Block Non-Zero Extent Trace, I'll set that to false. Now players should be able to walk straight through the mesh. As a matter of fact, if you want to go ahead and load that up just to verify, because sometimes once you put the new mesh on, it can be hard to tell. Like,
absolutely.
Which one are you colliding with? So, and then there's something else I want to point out. The fact that we want to leave projectile collisions alone. So, yes, our player can walk straight through that.
But if you shoot it...
Now, it still collides with projectiles, and that's what it means by non-zero or zero extent trace. So even if a bullet hits like the tip of one of the spikes, it still collides. Now that our player walks through it, we need to go ahead and redefine our own collision. So back over into UnrealEd, now I'm going to grab a cylinder brush and set its height to about 80 and its outer radius to 64. And I'll simply move that brush over where the static mesh is and center it up. And go in the front view as well. Align it to the floor where the spike ball is. Something right about like that. Now I'm going to right click on volume, and this time I'm going to add a blocking volume. And if I move the builder brush out of the way, we can see there's our blocking volume. And by default, blocking volumes do collide with non-zero extent trace or players. So if we, it should work fine playing. I'm going to rebuild just for safety's sake and load the map up. So there's the spike ball. Of course, blocking volumes are invisible and used for collision. But if we walk up to it now, we can't get quite as close to the mesh as we could before. But also, we're outside of the reach of the spikes, so we never get stuck on it. Plus, I mean, if this is a fast-paced deathmatch map, I mean, that's pretty much as close as you need to get to it. It's not like you're going to be hiding in the spikes.
Exactly.
So we can jump up over the mesh and then smoothly walk across it. And blocking volumes, also the non-zero extent trace is set to false, meaning that projectiles are going right through the edge of that blocking volume, and they're still colliding with the original mesh. So I can hit individual spikes with bullets.
Giving us the exact effect that we're looking for.
So with that, that's the basic use of blocking volumes. Of course, you could use these on other, even if you had geometry that was rough and you simply want to redefine a collision, that's what a blocking volume is it allows you to define an area of collision based on a brush.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's going to wrap up this lesson here, so thanks.